Welcome. We've been sent a video. I know it's been a little bit of time. I haven't been getting as many submissions lately. So here we are with patient missing site number 4/5. We'll call it number 4, immediately posterior to the canine. And we're looking to get an implant there. This case was submitted to us. And the first question I always ask is what kind of guide, and obviously analog is always an option, but this is a perfect case for a digital guide. We have many teeth without restorations or with minimal amount of restorations, essentially all of these teeth, maybe with the exception for tooth number 12. So the next question is if you want to do an OptiGuide, DigiGuide, or a CereGuide 2. If you want an OptiGuide, my preference is to have to the contralateral canine. So my scan in this case would be from at least say tooth number mesial of tooth number 2 all the way through probably somewhere in here to about right here would be my scan area. Again, the other option is a DigiGuide. A DigiGuide is a printed guide, and for a printed guide you can go a little bit smaller, but I would probably want my scan to be a little bit there, and the reason is the printed guide does have a slightly better positive seat and retention fit, but ideally for the DigiGuide, even then I want to go here, and then for my CereGuide I would want to at least get my scan from somewhere around here to about the same area, about half that arch for my CereGuide as well. So those are the requirements in order to get a guide made in this particular case. So here we have our scan and our restoration. And the first thing I notice about our scan is that we're not quite long enough. Now, could this work? Yes, but we know that the better the guide fits, the more stable it is, the easier surgery is, and the more accurate everything seats, so the more accurate our implant placement is. So I would encourage us to maybe take a larger scan here. Also, in looking at this, the other area that I noticed was this appears, and I may be incorrect about this, but this appears to be designed for a tooth number 12 or 13 because it looks like the tooth is backwards in the software. So that's one thing there. And then the other thing I notice is I'm very critical about having our gum lines correct. So it looks like here our gum line looks somewhat like this, and I would say that our premolar gum line probably needs to come up here a little bit. So I prefer to draw my restoration or my virtual wax up to ideal, just like so. And the reason that is it allows me to see a better idea of my emergence profile. So for example, in this view right here, is my emergence going to come out to right here instead? Is it going to come out to right here, or is it going to come out to right here? You know, each of these will affect implant placement, the depth of the implant, and different selections along the way there. So just a few pointers, and again, I still think the restoration is backwards here. So let's go ahead and put the implant in that was planned for us, and now let's go through. So the biggest thing that I see right away in this particular case, that again, it's not that this doesn't work. It's more about if we're going through this much work and this much technology, the biggest thing that I see here that I ask, can it be corrected? And it may not be able to be corrected, is our implant is going at this angle, but our teeth are going at that angle. So in a perfect world, I would want to get this implant as close to perpendicular to our occlusal plane as possible. So here, that's that's my biggest concern here with this particular case is that. So here I can also see when taking a closer look right here that we've got plenty of space between the distal part of the root of number 6. So what I would look at doing, and so let me just kind of draw out here what I'm looking at, is I look at my occlusal table that's like that, and I would prefer to have it more flat like that. So to me, this is a relatively simple fix. just like so. We can see the distal part of that root right here. And now take a look at our occlusal plane, how flat that is. And then obviously now we're into the distal part of this tooth. So we'll just slide that over. And now we can see that we're getting a little close to this root right here. And the reason we're getting close to that root is probably because this tooth could probably use some root uprighting here. But you know, it's very unlikely that our patient's going to go forward with that. So what I would choose to do here is then slightly compromise by tilting and tilting. And there we go. So now we have not perfect, okay, but better than what we started with. We're still far enough away from the adjacent root. The sinus becomes a little bit of an issue here, but I will also take a look and see that I'm not quite, I'm a little subcrestal, so we have some room to go about like so. And now maybe our sinus bump becomes a little bit easier. And in taking a look at this right here, let's take a closer look right here. We can see that our occlusal plane looks very nice. So here we can see some minor changes that make the plan a little bit better. We got our occlusal plane in a better position, a little bit less of a sinus issue, and everything's good to go there. So hopefully this helps. The only other thing again is the central groove here, but since the tooth is backward, I'm not certain that the central groove is actually in the right space to determine that, but based on looking at it right here, I would say that we're pretty close to being accurate there. So you know, just to, again, some minor things that we can always take a look at is, you know, we can try to predict what our emergence profile is going to look like, just like so. And that's helpful to see there. So again, I think this needs to be more like right here. So I think this would be more along these lines, like so, which is a more ideal emergence for this particular case. So thank you for having this submitted, and hopefully this was very helpful for you.